welcome to Sarah's Stamping Retreat. Today we're going to be making this lovely sunflower box. So it's quite a decent sized box. It's 4 inches by 4 inches by 2 inches. So it's a good size to put quite a lot of different gifts in. And it uses this Celebrate Sunflower stamp set. So that's the big sunflower out the stamp set. You can get it in a bundle with coordinating dies, but I fussy cut this today because I didn't want the white border around the outside of the sunflower for this particular project. So let's go ahead and get started. I think this box is actually deceptively simple. So we're going to start. I've got 2 8x8 pieces of Night of Navy cardstock. So one's going to be for the top and one's for the bottom. So I'm going to start with the base, and the base I'm going to score at 2 inches and 6 inches on that side, and the same again on this side, so 2 inches and 6 inches. And while we've got this out, I'll do the scoring for the top as well. So for the lid, you want to place the cardstock just a little bit. You can see I've just got a little gap down the edge here, away from the side of the scoreboard, and that's so that we create a lid that's just slightly bigger than 4 inches so that it fits on nicely. So we're going to just move it slightly away from the side, and then we're going to score at 1 inch and 2 inches. We're going to do that on all the sides, so we're going to move it a little bit away from the side and score at 1 and 2 inches, and we're going to repeat that on the other side. So that's all our scoring done. So we'll start with the base, and I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut about 1 centimetre or half an inch away from this score line here, and then I'm going to cut up the other score line so that I've got this extra piece. So I'm going to turn that into a flap like this. So I'm just going to be taking just a little triangle out of each of those corners so that I've got a flap. I'm going to do that on all 4 sides. It doesn't matter whether I have my flap on this side or on this side, so don't worry about that. But I'm just going to cut up. I'm going to cut across about 1 centimetre or half an inch away from the score line. So because it's really approximate, just cutting up 1 centimetre away, then cutting up this score line, cutting a triangle off each side, and then I'll do exactly the same again for the 4th corner. That's all the cutting done for our base. So now we're just going to fold all the score lines. So then we're just going to add some tear and tape to each of the flaps. And you want the tear and tape as close to the score line as you can, just to get a nice clean fold. So then I'm just going to take off the covering from the tape, and we're just going to line each fold up with the edge of the side so we get a nice clean edge. I'm going to do that on all 4 sides. And that's our box base done. So really simple. So then I'm going to bring in the lid, and if you've seen me make boxes before, you'll know that I use this technique in a lot of my boxes. So where we've got 4 squares in the corner, I'm going to cut up here up to the 2nd score line. Then I'm going to cut across 2 score lines here. So I'm going to take off this rectangular piece, and then I'm just going to cut out this square here as well. So you get left with this flap, and then I can just take a triangle off of each side of the flap. And then I'll move on to the next corner. So up to the second score line, then we want to cut off this bottom rectangle, and then we're going to cut off this square. That leaves us with a flap, and we're going to cut a triangle off of each side of the flap. Now I'm just going to repeat that on the other two corners. So then I'm just going to go around, and on these large edges I'm just going to cut a triangle just up to the first score line. I'm going to do that off each end of all of these large edges. So I'm going to fold all the score lines. And then I'm going to put a bit of tear and tape on each of the flaps. I'm just going to put a couple of little bits on. Now I'm going to go around, I'm going to take the cover off the tape, and then I'm just going to curve that round, and again you just want a nice clean line between the edge of the box and the fold line. So there we go. And then to reinforce the lid, we're going to fold all these flaps down. So I just want a little bit of tape on the inside of all of these flaps so that we can fold them down and get a nice reinforced lid. And I like to reinforce my lids because it gives them more strength, and B, I think it gives the overall box a more luxury feel. So now I've got tape on all those flaps, and I can just take that off and fold them all in like that. And then you get this lovely clean luxury looking lid. So that fits nicely onto our base because we left a little bit of room on the side of the scoring board. So to decorate the top, I've got a piece of Night of Navy cardstock that measures 3.5 inches square, and a piece of gold foil paper that measures 3 3/4 inches square. And I'm going to stick those together. I'm just using my Tombow glue there. And then I'm going to add some dimensionals to the back. I'm actually going to use some of the corners for this. So do you see all this waste bit here? I'm just going to cut that off and add that to one of the corners. I'll do the same with this bit as well. Just add that on there. Adding quite a few, probably a bit more than you actually need, just because I want it to be nice and sturdy. I'm just going to add that on top of the box. And then the star of the show is the sunflower, so we're just going to make that now. You can see I've stamped and coloured a couple of the flowers here. So we're going to decoupage up the flower. So you can see I've got 3 layers on this one, so I need to stamp the image 3 times. So we've got this large sunflower stamp. I've got my Tuxedo Black Memento ink. It's a large stamp, so the technique for linking up a large stamp I like to do like this. Some people prefer to take the stamp to the ink like this as well. So either way is good. You just want to make sure you get a nice coverage all over. And then I'm just going to stamp that. You can see you get a really nice impression. And then I just want to colour it. So you can see here I've done the whole flower but not the centre, because that's going to have something on top of it. So that's going to be the outer layer. Here I've missed out a few of the bits around the outside because I'm going to cut those off. I've missed out the centre because we're going to colour that on this one. So this one's going to be the inner layer. So I'm going to colour the middle and then I'm going to colour the middle petals, but we're going to cut off the outside ones. So we're going to use the Cinnamon Cider Duo, the Mango Melody Duo, and then I'm just going to use the Light Daffodil Delight. And on this image, as with a lot of these images that you can colour, there's a good guide as to where to colour them. So I'm going to use my dark cinnamon cider just around the edge here, because you can see it's really dark around here. There's a lot of shadow from the petals, and then also in this bit in the centre where it's going to be darkest. Then I'm going to take my light cinnamon cider and I'm literally just going to colour over the rest of the centre. And then I think that the cinnamon cider adds some depth to the sunflower as well. So I'm going to follow some of these dark lines with a bit of the cinnamon cider, just so that I can add a bit of dark shading underneath the yellow layer. So these petals that I've put the cinnamon cider on are going to be the ones that I'm going to cut off on that one. So I'm not going to colour any of the others on this layer. I've done those on the other layers. So then I'm going to come in with the dark Mango Melody and I'm going to colour that right round the middle here where it's going to be darkest. And then I'm going to follow up those lines that I did previously with the cinnamon cider. And I'm just going to create a little bit more colour there. I'm also just going over, so here where there's two petals next to each other, it'd be darker next to, where this petal overlaps this one, it'd be darker down there. So I'm just going to add a bit of colour down there as well. Then with the light Mango Melody, I'm going to just follow it up and just leave the very ends without colour on them. And like I've said in plenty of my videos before, I'm not a colourist, this is just my way of colouring. So there we go. So now I'm just going to cut out the 3 flowers, but I'm just going to cut around the bit that I've coloured. So this one I'll cut right the way around the outside, this one I'll cut off these leaves that I've not coloured, and this one I'll just do these central petals so that this will be my top layer. And like I say with all my videos, tip to clean cutting is to move the paper and not the scissors, and then you get nice clean lines. I'm really going to speed this up so that you don't have to watch me cut out all of these sunflowers. with our 3 cut out pieces of sunflower. So I'm just going to add some dimensionals to the back of each of the 2 smaller ones. Now you just want to line them up. So I like to use these ones at the bottom to show me where they are, and I can just place them over the top like that and make sure they line up with the ones below. So you can see then I've got these ones poking out of the bottom. It just adds a bit of dimension to it. Now I'm just going to add this smallest one on the top. So let's just line it up again. There we go. Then we've got our lovely dimensional sunflower. I'm just going to use some more dimensionals just to add that onto our box. And there we go, that's our project for today completed. I hope you enjoyed this project. If you did, please like and subscribe below, and you turn on your notifications, then you will get notifications for all of my future projects. All the products that we used today are listed in the description below with links to buy them if you wish to do so. Thank you for joining me today. I hope to see you again soon.